Okay, so things for you are in a sense good, at least.
Yeah,
You
touch
use the
wood.
period to reaffirm things.
It's a funny time. Fashion is. I mean, I'm not working in fashion anymore, but it's a weird time for fashion because just the way that the supply chain sort of works. So fashion was really delayed. They knew how serious things were at the beginning of the year because even items that are designed and even made in Australia, a lot of the fabric is sourced from Asia and specifically China. So those deliveries slowed, which meant that designers were having to push back the time that they would get their samples together, the samples being the just one, basically a draft piece of each thing that would be in the collection. And then you take that to your retailers and they choose, okay, I want 10 of that in a size 6. I want this. Then they put in the order. Then you send off that order. It's just the way of doing things to make sure you don't have a crazy amount of excess. So all of that was delayed. Samples were delayed, which meant models were then out of work. Shoots that they thought they would be doing for the autumn-winter season were pushed back into autumn-winter. So a lot of things are now close to a season behind. So the fashion community was super aware of what was going on pretty early on. Beauty hasn't been hit too hard, touch wood, but it does sort of operate in a similar way to fashion, particularly as far as shoots go. And with makeup, no one's been doing any face touching the last few months. So I haven't been hit, but you just don't know. There could be a delay somewhere. And I could be hit somewhere down the track. But
yeah, I think about that now in hindsight. That what an amazing pivot, because it is like, if you just look at it from a economics perspective, like beauty is not as cyclical as fashion. Nowhere near.
No, not in the slightest. And I also, again, I don't want to sound opportunistic. I'm just very grateful. But beauty traditionally booms in a recession. It goes back as far as the Great Depression. People want to feel good about themselves, but they can't go out and buy a big ticket item like a new car. And they called it the lipstick effect because people would go out and buy lipstick. And that's your mood booster. And that has, it's remained the case for just about every major recession, stock market crash, you name it. And I was like, okay, so that's what's happened in the past. This is me going back to March. And I thought, okay, sure, I know that this is what's happened in the past, and everyone's going, oh, you're so lucky to work in beauty. Beauty's about to boom. And I'm like, let's not talk like that. Particularly because I was thinking, when they talk about the lipstick effect, I was thinking specifically about colour cosmetics, so makeup. And I'm like, people aren't going to spend all this extra money on makeup when they have nowhere to go. This is the first time we've ever seen restaurants close, weddings aren't happening, all of this stuff is not happening. There is sort of no need for makeup anymore. So I was like, let's not get ahead of ourselves. But skincare has boomed.
Yeah.
And that's what my audience comes to me for. There are so many incredible makeup artists who I think are the experts there. But skincare is sort of my language. And there's a lot of science behind it that I won't go into, but isolation has ruined everyone's skin because our stress hormones have kicked into overdrive. Even if you haven't felt particularly stressed, there is this underlying feeling of uncertainty. Stress hormones have gone, what's going on? And it shows on our skin. So it's been an interesting time for skincare because my shtick forever has been, it's not enough to just say to people, this is a good moisturizer. You have to tell them why it's a good product. And now, across the board, people are demanding that from everyone.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned skincare because I would 100% agree on that. I noticed that a lot of women on Instagram, I think about downtime. People have a lot more downtime, and so maybe they're focusing on things that they've been wanting to do, whether it's cleaning out their cupboard in the things that they're using. And getting not professional, but we bought an entire bar. We just used to have like some gin, vermouth, Campari just for Negronis. That was it. Now there's like 30 different spirits. And I'm like, well, fuck, I'm not really going to be going to a bar for the next 9 months unless I'm really invited.
Well, and now that they're open, I'm still kind of like,
Yeah. It's not the same because only 20 people are allowed in the place.
Yeah.
But you are right about the lipstick effect. I've got to speak to Dan Monheit about doing his next podcast because they do a lot of heuristics and cognitive biases. And I feel like the lipstick effect is a good one that I read about recently.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's good to point out because people go from buying their Celine handbags to buying a small lipstick. I remember Lauren had some yen left over when we were in Tokyo airport, and we're just thinking what can we spend this on? We can't really cash it back, and we're like, oh, we just walked past Chanel, and Chanel had, you can buy a Chanel lipstick for $50, like a really nice lipstick, which she never uses, by the way. She's like, oh, it's only for special occasions.
Oh, no. Nothing is for special occasions.
Yeah.
Nothing is for special occasions. But that's also my philosophy surrounding beauty gift buying. That's where the Glow Journal gift guides came from, however many years ago now. There's a wonderful UK-based beauty writer, Sally Hughes, who has a couple of books, but in one of them she talks about buying gifts. And when you work in beauty, it's kind of just expected that is the category you'll purchase gifts for people from. But I think it's so much better. I'm going completely off topic, but I think it's so much nicer to spend, how to word this, the amount of money that you have. So let's say it's $50, buy the smallest possible thing. So that might be a Chanel lipstick, which is this beautiful, beautiful gift that, in Lauren's case, she's saving for a special occasion. I'll have words with her about that. She'll start wearing it. Or, and this is the way a lot of people go, they're like, $50. Okay, so I can get 6 of these cheap bath bombs. I can go to the chemist and get this huge eyeshadow palette. And they think it's more about getting quantity over the quality. So I would agree.
No, that's a really good analogy because, I was just realizing then. So what was it? It was before this kicked off. I remember I bought Lauren. Actually, we're having a debate about this with Ethan, who's been on the show, my friend Zoe. There is a real lack of good direct-to-consumer lingerie labels. As in, if it doesn't matter the size of your bust, you've either got old lady-focused shops or you've got skinny model-based brands that their sizing is small, medium, large. I didn't realize Gooseberry Intimates was small, medium, large. I was blown away. They don't even have
shops there.
It's a joke. So we were having this debate, and anyway, so the point is, if I buy every now and then, I like to buy Lauren something because I like to give gifts.
Nice.
And so I bought her a voucher to Simone Perel.
Yes.
But when she gets the voucher to Simone Perel, she takes forever to make a decision as opposed to when you get something from a beauty place. If I get her a treatment or if she goes to buy something from Mecca or something like that. And I feel like sometimes in terms of value for money, things in the beauty industry have a higher value per dollar, beauty skincare that is, to fashion.
Well, I think...
if you spend $500 at Celine versus $500 in the beauty space and really nice products, I feel like you would feel happier with the latter.
Potentially. I do think... I think it comes down to personal preference, but I like that you've used lingerie as an example because I think... I think part of the reason it takes so long to make a decision in that space, and I would consider perfume falling under that category as well, in that it's so personal. So with beauty, you might go into, say, a Mecca or your David Jones beauty floor, wherever you've chosen to shop, and you see a product and you go, oh, I have seen X, Y, and Z raving about this. I really want to try it. And it's done. Decision made. You've had your recommendations. Off you go. Whereas with with lingerie, and I guess with fashion in general, but with lingerie and with perfume, it is entirely subjective because it's really for you and potentially your partner, but I think it's for you. So you're never going to really buy lingerie based on a recommendation.